Conor McGregor, a man whose name is as synonymous with championship belts as it is with controversy, has once again found himself in the eye of a storm of his own making. This time, the scene was Ibiza, the sun-soaked Mediterranean, paradise known for its endless party nights and opulent excess. But in the early morning hours at Pasha, one of the island's most iconic nightclubs, a violent episode unfolded that has since gone viral, reigniting debates over whether Conor McGregor is simply a misunderstood figure coping with the chaos of fame or a ticking time bomb with no regard for consequences. The grainy footage begins like so many nightlife videos captured in the age of smartphones and social media. Loud music, flashing lights, bodies swaying in rhythm, and amidst it, all a recognizable silhouette: Conor McGregor, towering slightly above the crowd in what appears to be a private section of the club, dressed in his usual flamboyant style, complete with a fitted designer shirt and a wrist heavy with luxury timepieces. McGregor is seen conversing animatedly with a group of friends. He leans over the railing, addressing someone just below him. The camera angle doesn't capture the other man's face clearly. But what's captured next doesn't need clarification. In a sudden burst of movement that betrays years of training and honed muscle memory, McGregor unleashes two swift, vicious left hooks. They land flush on the man's face, sending him stumbling backward. It's violent, raw, and unmistakably intentional. The footage ends abruptly, leaving viewers stunned and full of questions. Why did it happen? What was said? Who was the man on the receiving end? Was it provocation, a personal grudge, or simply another chapter in the long and increasingly disturbing tale of a man who once ruled the UFC with charisma and precision, but now seems more often in the news for his behavior outside the ring than his achievements inside it? Sources who were at the club that night report that the altercation took place around 5:53 a.m. At that hour, the energy in Ibiza's nightclubs is usually at its most frenzied, the kind of atmosphere that makes rationality scarce and ego abundant. Eyewitnesses describe McGregor as appearing in a good mood prior to the incident. He was laughing, dancing, and even posing for pictures with fans earlier in the night. However, that facade unraveled in seconds. It's a pattern that's become familiar for those who have followed the fighter's turbulent post-fighting career. Remarkably, despite the assault, the night continued for McGregor. While the club patron was escorted out, McGregor was allowed to stay, dancing and drinking as though nothing had happened. The man he struck has not been identified publicly, and as of now, no charges have been filed. Still, the video paints a damning picture, one that adds fuel to the ever-growing fire of McGregor's off-the-clock infamy. This isn't McGregor's first brush with the law or violence in public. In fact, for many observers, this latest incident is just another example of a long pattern of behavior. Who could forget the infamous moment in 2018 when McGregor hurled a dolly through the window of a UFC bus, shattering glass and injuring fighters inside? That incident earned him criminal charges and a significant fine, but did little to tarnish his larger-than-life image at the time. And then, in 2019, came the video of McGregor punching an elderly man in a Dublin pub simply because the man refused. A shot of his proper No. 12 whiskey. The footage was damning, sparking outrage across Ireland and the MMA world. Yet, despite public backlash, McGregor's career and reputation rebounded at least to a degree. He paid a fine, settled legal matters, and even publicly apologized. But the undercurrent of violence and unchecked aggression remained. What then drives a man with seemingly everything: money, fame, talent, a family, and a legacy too? Acts of violence that seem more fitting of a street thug than a professional athlete. Some believe the answer lies in the toxic mix of pressure, ego, and a need to always be in control. Others point to the culture of fighting itself, a sport where dominance, power, and intimidation are not just tools but necessities. To understand McGregor's psyche, one has to understand where he came from. Born in Crumlin, a working class, Suburb of Dublin, McGregor's rise from plumbing apprentice to global sports icon is nothing short of cinematic. He is, in many ways, a rags to riches story brought to life, complete with the brash confidence, defiant attitude, and relentless drive to succeed that endeared him to millions. Inside the octagon, McGregor was a maestro. His precision striking, masterful timing, pound psychological warfare against opponents earned him championship belts in two weight divisions, a first in UFC history. He brought eyes to the sport, packed arenas, and broke pay-per-view records. But outside the cage, a different McGregor emerged, one less composed, more volatile, and increasingly erratic. The shift was gradual but noticeable. As the money grew, so did the entourage. As the fame expanded, so did the list of controversies. At first, the outbursts were chalked up to passion, Irish bravado, or clever marketing. But over time, those excuses began to wear thin. The public and even some fans started questioning whether the man they once cheered for had lost touch with reality, or worse, lost control of himself. This recent incident in Ibiza underscores the precarious tightrope McGregor walks. He's still incredibly popular. But that popularity feels more fragile now, more contingent on nostalgia than current achievements. He hasn't fought in the UFC since July 2021, when he suffered a gruesome leg break in his trilogy fight with Dustin Poirier. Since then, rumors of comebacks have circulated, but nothing has materialized. Instead, his headlines have been filled with lawsuits, altercations, and bizarre social media rants. One might wonder if the man who once dreamed of conquering the UFC is now fighting a different kind of battle, one against his own demons. In recent years, McGregor has spoken about his struggles with fame, the loss of hunger that came with immense wealth, and the toll it has taken on his mental health. But moments like the one in Ibiza seem to contradict those reflections, suggesting that the fighter in him hasn't found peace, only new outlets for aggression. The club's response, allowing McGregor to remain while ejecting the victim, speaks volumes about celebrity culture and the power dynamic it fosters. In a world where the rich and famous are often shielded from consequences, McGregor's actions, while morally indefensible, are unlikely to bring about significant legal repercussions. Money talks, and in places like Ibiza, it often talks loud, enough to drown out common decency. Still, with every incident, the veneer of invincibility McGregor once wore begins to crack a little more. Fans are growing weary, sponsors are watching closely. And the UFC, though often willing to forgive for the sake of profit, must eventually grapple with the reality that one of its biggest stars is also one of its most unpredictable liabilities. This story, like so many involving McGregor, is still unfolding. The man he struck may yet come forward. Lawsuits may be filed. Investigations may be launched. Or, as has happened before, the incident may quietly fade from the headlines, replaced by the next scandal, the next viral moment, the next reason to ask, what happened to Conor McGregor? In many ways, McGregor represents a modern tragedy. A man whose talent catapulted him to unimaginable heights, but whose temperament threatens to undo everything he built. The fighting world is no stranger to dramatic arcs, to warriors who rise, fall, and rise again. But McGregor's tale feels different. There's a rawness to it, a chaos that can't be choreographed. It's real. It's dangerous. And it's spiraling. As of now, McGregor has remained silent. His team has declined to comment. Perhaps they hope this too will blow over. But silence can't erase video. Silence can't erase bruises. And silence can't rewrite the growing list of red flags surrounding a man who once seemed invincible. Whatever the future holds, whether he returns to the octagon, embarks on a new business venture, or continues down this turbulent path, one thing is clear: the world is still watching Conor McGregor. The question is no longer whether he can fight, but whether he can stop fighting long enough to save himself. Because, in the end, the most dangerous opponent may not be standing across the cage, but staring back at him in the mirror.